Hello and welcome to Talking Sharks, coming to you this week from Pennyhill Park, the base camp of the England squad ahead of their Six Nations game with Wales. It was a dismal autumn international period for Martin Johnson's side, and the new-look England team still looked a little disjointed despite their 36-11 win over the Italians. With Sharks wing Mark Cueto back in the fold and doing what he does best, up next it's a trip to the Grand Slammers' back garden, the Millennium Stadium, for a fixture England haven't won since 2003. Italy, there's been a lot said in the papers, a lot said by ex-players, journalists, some that you know very well. What did you make of it afterwards? Do you think it's been slightly harsher criticism or just?
I haven't read any of it. I haven't listened to any of it. But all I can say is that after what happened in the autumn and the fact that we got convincingly beaten and to go into Six Nations first game and to get a bonus point win against Italy, we've got to be reasonably pleased with that. At the same time, we know there's a lot of areas and we can improve on and get better in, well, as I say, all sorts of areas. But I think as a start, it wasn't bad. Taking your club try-scoring form into that game must have been amazing for you.
It was a difficult sort of game, really. We, from a back three point of view, we struggled to get our sort of hands on the ball, and I remember the first time I touched the ball in the game, 15 minutes had gone by. So from that point of view, I think with it being my first game for England for a while, I was desperate to sort of get my hands on the ball as early as I could, and I just didn't manage to do that. And that seemed to be the sort of trend for the rest of the game. It kept threatening to sort of break up a little bit, but never actually did. So to manage to get over the try line in a game like that is always nice. We as players took confidence from that game. We took what we needed out of it. I don't think we've allowed ourselves too much to dwell on what other people have said and what people's perspective. Because actually, when you come away on a camp, you don't have to read the newspapers. You don't have to. You can just be in your own little world and focus on the next game. And that's what I quite enjoy. Unless I came to a media day with you guys, I wouldn't know too many of the reactions of what's going on. But I think as a player, you know what's best, and we know that it wasn't quite as acceptable as we wanted it to be.
We've got things to work on in our attacking game, and same with our defensive game, is reinforcing all those things. It doesn't happen quick, it doesn't happen overnight in a week's training. You want to improve week on week, improve as a team, and the whole team's understanding and individuals within that. Harry didn't have much preparation time last week. He came in on Tuesday afternoon. He wasn't with us a week before that, so I think he'll be a lot. He played very well last week, and I'm sure he'll be better for a week's preparation.
Wales up next, obviously compared to Italy, and a lot of people criticising Italy's attack and defence. Wales is going to be the real test, isn't it? Yeah,
they play very well against Scotland, and they're obviously very confident at the moment. They had a good autumn series and obviously a good win last week, and they will be going into the games as favourites. But we're quietly confident here that provided we sort of go in and fulfil our attacking game, and the defence is as solid as it was last week, and we completed the breakdown how we did last week, that we can come away with a result.
I've played there twice in the past and never won, so I know what it's like. It's from the crowd and that point of view, it is loud and it's not intimidating, but you're aware of it. But that's what you want to play in front of. I've said it to you in the past. You don't want to go somewhere that's quiet and there's, it's like playing for sale. If you play, you play in front of 2,000, it's rubbish. You play in front of 10, 11,000 at Edgeley, it's brilliant. And similar on this, it's just a bigger stage. To play in front of 80,000 mad Welsh going crazy and wanting you to lose, it's the best environment you can play in.
And of course, everyone's saying you are the underdogs. That could play into your hands, couldn't it? That could be your advantage.
I don't know if it's necessarily an advantage. Obviously, they're favourites because of their form, and obviously over quite a long period of time now since the last Six Nations. So that's why we're the underdogs. We just have to keep plugging away and hopefully we can deliver a decent performance at the weekend.
The Welsh are enjoying having a successful rugby team, and they're playing some attractive rugby as well, which is good. So it will be doubly difficult. But we have to turn that round. The expectations on them to win and to play well. We haven't got that much expectation, so we need to get in there and fight, and we can also play, and we need to battle and quieten the crowd down, all those things you do when you're away from home. But that comes again with you've got to execute, you've got to be accurate. Silly penalties, mistakes, will get punished. So the team's aware of that. The team spoke about that themselves. That was what they said, the improvement they need to make from last week.
it's a real hostile environment. You go down there, you know, as you drive through from the coach to the ground, you know, you get some irate Welsh fans. They're gesticulating from the crowd before you've even got in the ground. And when you're in the ground and Wales are singing the anthem, you know, you can feel the emotion, and people are bouncing off the walls for the performance. So, you know, if you allow a Welsh team to get momentum and play this you know, very classy brand of rugby that they're playing at the moment, then we could find ourselves in real trouble. But the whole point of us is being players that want to be competitive, and we're going to go out there and really push them and challenge them in everything we do and make sure that the afternoon is ours, not theirs.
How nice is it to be back personally? You sat there with your kit on. It must be great considering 2007, a couple of years gone by.
No, it's great. You know, it's been a sort of easy transition really. I think prior to coming down, and you know, the sort of the 2 weeks between being named in the squad and actually getting involved was quite nervous. It was almost like coming back for the first time. But the minute you get down there, you know, you get the kit on, you're straight back into it. The lads, you know the lads anyway. It's been fantastic, and you know, to start off last week, like I say, with a try and a win was fantastic. So, you know, it's going to be a bigger challenge this week, but one that I'm really looking forward to.
Now, Kingsley sent me down here as a secret agent to hopefully seal the deal. A lot of the Sale fans want to know, because they don't know what you look like, so this is an introduction for them speaking about Sale. How have talks gone? Because you've been up there, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Sale was a fantastic club. I think they've got some world-class players, some great facilities, and some really passionate fans. And it's a really exciting club. I think that's going to keep achieving things. So obviously, I met Kingsley Jones, and I got on very well with him. I think he's a great coach, and I think he's the man to lead Sale forward.
He's still got a lot of options. There's nothing concluded yet. It's still early doors in that case.
Yeah, very much so. You know, I've got to make my decision in the next couple of weeks, but the beauty of coming away in England camp is you can sort of leave that kind of distraction away and just focus on performing for your national side.
And is Brian Moore off the Christmas card list?
Not at all. You know, I mean, as I said, obviously I know what comments that Brian Moore made, but you know, I respect his judgment. He's entitled to his opinion. I've got nothing against the bloke, and I think, to be honest with you, if I had done it on purpose, as he didn't allude to, I'd done it on purpose, but he said if I had done it on purpose, then I would be a half-wit. And I think anyone who trips an Italian player up in the middle of a field with just a referee and 80,000 people watching is a pretty stupid thing to do. So luckily I didn't do that, so I would class myself as not a half-wit.
Now, I wonder if a select 10 from the England squad would be able to outdo Broughton Park's attempts in the Grubber Challenge. They lead by 2. This week, it's Wilmslow.
Band-Aid fullback. Right, Parkinson, 8, 9, 10 and 12.
Well, I see what you're doing.
Chris Lee, 12.
Tim Medwell, wing.
Viva Tim Medwell, running down the wing.
Charlie Mulcroon, 9 and single.
Single. Get in.
Mark Baldry, front row specialist.
Come on, Baldry, we need this, son.
Josh Longmore, utility.
Come on, Josh. Oh, come on. Oh, Swedish international.
Jake stays, second row. Craig Stewart, utility forward.
It's like comedy dad run.
Jimmy Byers, centre.
This weekend sees new Sharks DOR Kingsley Jones looking to break the hearts of another of his previous employers in Gloucester. It's a Valentine's Day trip down south for the Sharks after a priceless victory at Six Ways, and it's guaranteed come Saturday there'll be no love lost between these two sides.
It's a special place for me, Gloucester. Of course, I was lucky enough to captain them for a couple of years, and there's still a lot of people there that was there when I was there. The chief executive is a real good guy, Ken Nottage, and the supporters were fantastic to me my time there. So I always like Gloucester to do well, but not this weekend. You know, it's a great place to go and play rugby, and we need to thrive on that and feed on the environment.
I mean, we've had a few games this season, Heineken Cup and things like that, where we haven't performed. So in actual fact, it's the confidence that I think we want to get within ourselves to make sure that we can go out, play the type of game that Sale Sharks can play, and whoever the opposition is will obviously try defend as best as they can, but we know what we want to do, and that's what we're focusing on.
First thing we must do, everybody, is believe that we can win there. I believe we can win there. I've played there for them and lost, and it's achievable. As I said, the referee will have a big impact in the game. He needs to be strong. But if we go there with the right attitude and the belief, with a good referee, we can get a win. But it'll never ever be easy at Kingsholm, so we know it's going to be a massive challenge.
One man you can't give a ball to is Ollie Barkley, especially with his boot at the moment. He's on fire. The penalties from Sale Sharks' point of view, they have to be minimised on Saturday.
Well, that's the thing. Regardless, no disrespect to Ollie, he's a fantastic player, and he's been very, very effective with his boot. You know, it's devastating because you can't go to get a sniper to take away opportunities from him taking chances at goal. But the thing is, discipline in any team is vital. I think in any competition, you want to keep your penalties to a minimum, especially when you're in strike zone of conceding 3 points. So we very much focus, just as a general, on discipline. We want to make sure that we maintain our defensive record that we've done so well throughout the entire competition, and that is because we do maintain a very high standard of discipline, communication, and a respect for the law of the game.
Cox, he is desperate to get an opportunity. Just to name one guy, there's guys that Rudy Kyle, you know, that feel they should play more than they do, and you know that's a fair case to argue, because you know never lets us down. So those boys are desperate to play, and I thought the actual way we played in was a real team performance, which is really crucial, particularly after the Munster performance, you know, and don't want to drag that up all the time, but you know we can't have many of those performances in the season, and we've got to go to Kingsholm with the same belief and desire as we did at Worcester, play for the team, play for the 22 guys, and if we get the right referee, we can get the win.
I'm a historian myself and love statistics, but in these instances you like to push that aside. It's 4 lines, it's a rugby game. Sure, Kingsholm's going to be screaming, the shed's going to be going mad, that's what you love, but we just harness that energy, absorb their pressure and throw it straight back at them.
That's it for part 1, but stay with us because after the break I smartened myself up for the CEO, James Jennings. First though, it's teaser time, this week with a bit of a love theme. Ben Foden will send his Valentine's card to a member of which well-known girl band? Is it A, Girls Aloud, B, The Saturdays, or C, The Sugar Babes? My Valentine's card would go to the blonde one out of the Sugar Babes, but the former Sale number 15 will be sending his love to Una out of B, The Saturdays. Hello and welcome back to the show, coming to you this week from England's HQ here at Pennyhill Park. Up next is a man who arrived at Edgeley Park back in November 2007. James Jennings had big boots to fill following in the footsteps of his predecessor Niels de Vos, but with a year or so under his belt, it's about time for a bit of a catch-up.
I've settled in nicely, but in terms of stamping my mark, I think it's you know, it takes more than a season, and it's not really sort of my mark. The way I view it is, if you like, I'm the latest custodian of this particular job, and I think what I like to see happen at the club is the same as the owners, Brian Kennedy and Ian Blackhurst, and the fans, and we all have this. I think we all share the same vision for where the club wants to be in the future.
Let's talk about the final 5, because that nice tagline. I like it. It works.
It does.
But
fantastic final 5.
When you look at those games, and you obviously look now with 10 to go, it's 5 away, 5 home.
Yeah,
it's so important that you get people in here and everything's up to scratch, and mainly just getting behind the team for them to win those games.
It is. The league is so competitive. Even at this sort of stage, there's probably 6 teams who realistically will be targeting, a top 4 finish. And even though we currently lie 3rd in the league, we've got a game in hand on the top 2 teams as we speak now, and we've got the best win ratio. I mean, we've won 9 games out of 12, which is a better ratio than any other club in the Guinness Premiership. We're going to have to sort of maintain that sort of standard right through to the end of the season. And the one thing we've got to really focus on is winning the last 5 games at home. We're trying lots of different things to find out what works best. What the fans like best. And I think we're we're moving towards perhaps a more back to basics type approach in many respects of the game. I think what we want to do more than anything is provide a great time at the ground, and basically let the rugby do its effectively do the speaking for us.
To keep, I guess, everyone happy is important, isn't it?
It is. I mean, that's the balancing act. We're trying to keep all of our fans happy, all of the time. But what we're trying to do is make improvements which really count. Be they sort of in terms of the hospitality or in the marquee, or we opened the new Guinness bar this season. We've got plenty of plans for the rest of this season and next. It's just a case of sort of keep on trying to do things slightly better. At every game.
As a CEO, contractually, because I guess there's been a hell of a lot of things going on involving Philippe and Kingsley and players and so on. Has it been particularly busy for you with the pen and paper and computer and phone, etc.?
Contract side, actually, it's a bit quieter this year than last year. When I joined last year, I think there was, just by coincidence, there were more players who were either joining the club or leaving the club. I mean, for all Guinness Premiership sides, they will have on average every season something like half a dozen players leaving and half a dozen players joining. I think last year we had something like 13 or 14 players left the club for different reasons, through the season and at the end of the season, and I think we had 6 players joined us. This year we'll probably have 5 or 6 players will leave the club at the end of the season, and probably 5 or 6 players will join, which is sort of the average for any club at any point in the cycle. So last year was a busier year. This year's a bit quieter.
Can we take Philippe, for example? When that news came through, was it a shock for you at the time?
Yeah, it was a surprise to all of us. Philippe obviously had given his decision a lot of thought. I don't think it was an easy decision for him. And when he sort of told us that he had made that decision, we were all very surprised, and also to an extent saddened that he was leaving. But at the end of the day, it's understandable after 5 years at the club that he felt he needed a new challenge. He didn't know what he was going to do when he made that decision. Really it was a case of making the first decision that he wanted to move on to a different challenge.
So all the talk of contracts already pre-signed,
no
nonsense.
Well, I don't believe that to be the case at all.
So when it comes to signing new players, because there's so much speculation in the papers, you probably know stuff you're not going to tell us about players you've met and players that, we know Kingsley's told us a little bit about Haskell, for example, who's come up and met him. If it got to a case of a contract, you have a huge input in terms of what you can arrange for the player. How does that work, as much as you can tell us? You're given grounds of money that you've got to give them.
Kingsley and I sit down, he makes the decisions or recommendations in terms of which players we need for the squad from a rugby perspective, and then the two of us sit down and we work through the numbers to see what, how we use the budget that's available in which positions. Given the fact we're only talking maybe 5 or 6 players out of the total squad, it's relatively simple to do on a year-by-year basis.
Obviously, we know the plan this year, as in every year, is to win the Guinness Premiership, to win anything you can win. But is there a business plan that you've got set out at all? A long-term structure, maybe?
There is a business plan. The key to any business plan is obviously
keep it secret.
Well, that's also important. It's the first and foremost is it's all very well having a sort of a great vision for the future, and some business plans look fantastic 3 years, 5 years out. But what you've got to do in the short term is manage the business as well as possible over the next 12 months. And obviously the current economic climate means we have to be very focused on managing the business well. We are continuing to make progress in terms of bringing fans into the ground, increasing season ticket sales, and hopefully this year we'll have more fans watching Sale Sharks play rugby than we did last year. We hopefully will have more people through hospitality than we did last year. And that's a big achievement in what are quite difficult sort of economic conditions. So we need to build on what we've got. We have to be realistic. We're not going to sort of increase turnover by 50% in the next 12 months. But obviously we want to grow that over the next couple of years, so we get more members and really build that sort of community and the network amongst our the businesses that support us. And that's giving us the foundations really to then move on towards a potential development at Edgeley Park. It has been mentioned before in the press, and I've spoken about it before, that the development I'd like to go forward with would be of the DLA Piper stand. That I think for most people is the most obvious, but it's really a case of working out where best to start. And if there was an opportunity of moving forward with a redevelopment of the DLA Piper, that would be my first priority. That would give us the opportunity of building a major stand, putting some brand new corporate facilities, pitch side with great pitch views, and also building or adding another sort of couple of thousand seats into the ground, which would take us up to about sort of 13,500 capacity. And that would completely transform the facilities here at Edgeley Park, because it would then free up space in the Printerland stand, so we could create sort of spectator bars, different sort of areas within that stand, so we could cater for all fans.
Is there contracts in the pipeline, are there players in the pipeline that people can get excited about?
Yes.
One word answer. But
yes.
But there are big names coming in.
Well, I mean, like last season we had a mixture of some very big names and some players coming in who perhaps didn't have quite the same profile because people didn't know them as well when they joined. But if you look at the signings we made last year, we brought some great players to the club. Luke Abraham, Christian Ormsby, obviously Matthew Tate, Dwayne Peel. We're not always going to bring to the club, players who are international players already. We're always going to bring in some players who are still coming through, still developing as players. But nonetheless, all very exciting, and will certainly strengthen the squad.
You're not going to give me a name. Gloucester are red, Sale are blue. It's Kingsley's return. A win at Kingsholm is due. Poetry, quite clearly my strong point. Next week we'll be at the table toppers, and with Valentine's Day around the corner, just remember that I love you all so very much. Bye for now.
Well, my Valentine's Day will be straight after our game. I'll be sat in front of the TV watching the nearest TV, watch England and Wales. And I don't think my Valentine's Day is going to be very good and romantic. But I'm very lucky with my wife. She's very supportive of me. I'm on the phone non-stop. I'm in front of computers non-stop, and she's just used to me, I guess. After a long time now together, she's used to me not being. I do make the effort. We took her to Scotland with me to watch the rugby. That was a romantic weekend. So that was our Valentine's Day last weekend. This weekend is rugby.